Sid Seixeiro of BT joins me now. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Good, brother.
Oh, you're doing good.
Yeah, I am. I'm doing good.
I thought I felt bad texting you asking to come on and talk about the Bills' heartbreak because, I try to leave people alone during times of extreme sports mourning. That it's just this is a tough one. Like, was this one different for you in some regard? Because this felt different to me.
I'd slightly forgotten about the loss, and thanks for reminding me.
Oh, you'd forgotten.
So
well,
no, I feel terrible.
I told you what you were coming off for. This is your fault. Like, you could have declined.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me of all my pain.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. There is something about football losses, though, that sting more, like the urgency of it, the oneness of it, and just when it's over, the pain lingers in a way that, for me, doesn't with other sports.
I mean, and you just feel it coming. Like, football is such a unique sport, whereas, like, when the Bills were down 7 with the ball, and I knew then it was over because the math doesn't math on what the Bills do. So you're telling me Josh Allen's going to tie this game up, and the defense will allow 0 points to Mahomes at home? There was no shot. And then Allen the second time will go down the field and do something he's never done, which is bat in a big game. Like when Samuel who tied the game up on the touchdown pass? I think it was Curtis Samuel.
Yeah, it was.
I didn't move.
They went up at that point.
Forgive me, they went up.
Yeah.
And my wife goes, they just scored a touchdown. And I'm like, I don't care. Because Mahomes is about to take them down the field. Because this is now the 7th movie in the Lord of the Rings Kansas City Chiefs legacy, and I know how this is going to play. Football has a weird way of just kind of crushing you well in advance, not just in the moment, but well in advance. They were never pulling that off. It was never happening. And I love the Dalton Kincaid hate. It is the most inane garbage I've ever seen in my life. Of all the plays and moments in that football game to focus on, the stupidity of people who cannot see 3 feet in front of them, never mind in a sporting event, but in life probably, are going to focus on that play. It's a funny thing to watch something be broken down to this extent by a lot of people who have no idea what they're talking about. The Bills did not deserve a thing Sunday night, and they left with exactly what they had coming to them, which was nothing.
So to me, this one is like a death by 1,000 cuts situation where it's not just like the one thing. It was like the all things and I kind of tried to illustrate this point on my last pod of, hey, this is not just your head coach giving up the most points to the Chiefs every single year that they face you in the postseason, right? Where it's like, hey, the Chiefs, they just keep pounding the defensive coach and out-coaching them. Hey, it's not just the slight differences in the big moments for the quarterbacks. It's also the general manager who let them take Xavier Worthy, right, and trade up to get the wide receiver they wanted. And then, of course, he comes back like the most predictable prophecy ever and bashes you in for the highest amount of receiving yards of any player in the game, and arguably, I would say, the second best skill position player to cook in that game, right? It's the drop by Kincaid, who is a first-round pick for you. It is the plays of Elam, who they also took in the first round and can't get a stop at any juncture of the game. It is like you continuously going to a 4th and inches sneak play that has been getting stuffed, and then you stick with it, and then you're begging for like the extra length of a football when you're on the road facing the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I thought it was like an all-encompassing loss. One where, like, I still have belief that the Bills, as long as they do have Josh Allen, can accomplish great things, and that eventually maybe there is a stumble with the Chiefs, and I don't know, it's like you have to believe it. But ultimately, it's like, yeah, all of those things in conjunction to me are the greater conversation with the Bills in terms of how they get over the top. It's like, if you're going to ever beat Kansas City, you have to shore things up in just about every regard. But Allen, like, it seemed like Allen was the guy that you were most fixated on coming out of this game. Am I wrong?
A little bit, yeah. Like, more, the play calling also bothered me a great deal. But the Allen discourse has to be front and center because of what it is. And if you're telling me Lamar Jackson can't get it done, you got to keep the same energy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's actually really fair.
And the end of the game didn't bother me as much as the start of the game for Josh Allen, which no one's talking about. he was a child out there. He was scared out of his mind. You're not going to a Super Bowl with this guy, with that attitude. To start the game, every interview he did all week was kicking around his head right when that game began because he pressed on every snap, basically, where it was in his hands. And when I saw that, I'm like, this is a problem. Even if Mahomes makes a mistake, well, you can't. Allen's throwing in a double coverage every throw. And I have a problem believing the hype when we see you in that pressure cooker, and it's not the first time you've been in the pressure cooker, and that's the reaction. Now, we've also seen throughout, like, it's kind of his thing. I get it. Usually when you set up a run for him or two and he gets hit properly, he kind of feels more in the game. Like, I get how Josh Allen operates. We all do. That start worried me, man. That start worried me. And on top of that, that's the healthiest that offense has been arguably all season. They've been missing a guy left and right the entire year, whether it's one of the tight ends or it's Shakir or whoever. He had everybody. And I just didn't like the composure for most of the game. And if we're going to have the honest discussion of where this goes, this guy has not won an MVP. This guy has not been to a Super Bowl. This guy has not done some major stuff. You put Jalen Hurts' resume next to his right now, I'll tell you which one I'll take.
I will say this, though. If Josh Allen was in the NFC on that Eagles team, then I think it's like we're talking about them and the Chiefs every year being like, who's the greater dynasty? Like, I really believe that. Like, Hurts is a good quarterback, but Allen is... To me, I think I saw a tweet from Nick Wright where he was like, hey, Mahomes has beat all these guys. Like, he's beat Lamar in the playoffs. He's beat Josh Allen 4 times in the playoffs. He's beaten Joe Burrow in the playoffs, even though Burrow has also beaten him. But he's like, yo, this isn't a big 4. This is 1 and then the other 3. And that is the way that I see it, is Allen is in that 3. I will say this, though, to your point, like, I am not as much on the, like, Allen killed them in this game simply because, like, I look at the full body of work, like Chiefs versus Bills. And to me, I see, like, 9 touchdowns and a turnover for, like, the Bills over the stretch. And it's, like, the same for the Chiefs. I think they have 9 touchdowns and maybe 1 or 2 turnovers. And that Mahomes is just better than him. Like, I don't think that there's, like, this crazy amount of shame in the idea of, like, arguably the greatest football player that we've ever seen. And I would say, like, he's not the greatest of all time because that's a cumulative resume thing. But in terms of, like, the greatest quarterback I've ever seen in one singular moment, like, damn, it's hard not to think this is the guy, that he's the one that keeps beating you. To me, it's, like, more about, like, I want to see some different structure stuff in place. Like, I think the play calling stuff absolutely sucked. I think that Sean McDermott giving up, 30-plus points every single time he faces these Chiefs team when he is a defensive coach and they're, like, the most limited they've ever been, and this kind of felt like the shot, that's kind of supposed to be something. But where I'm with you on the Allen criticism is that he gets treated different than the other guys. Like, Lamar absolutely gets raked over the coals when it comes to him playing poorly. And some of it, I think, is because he's been more turnover prone than Allen has, like, in recent vintages. But, like, with Lamar, it's basically like, this guy's a choker. He can't get things done. He's the James Harden of the NFL. And with Josh Allen, it's always like, hey, it's super sympathetic, despite the fact that, yeah, man, he has now had multiple opportunities to go down the field and beat this Chiefs team by himself. And this time specifically, like, guy didn't do it. Like, this was the spot that it was supposed to be a who gets the ball last game. He got the ball last. He didn't come through. And I haven't really seen anybody other than you say something about it.
I just think it's like, I agree with all that. But I'll go back. I'll go back to Hurts just for a second, though. Hurts in his playoff career, Jalen Hurts is a more accurate thrower than Josh Allen, and he's turned it over less. But still, it's Josh Allen getting the pass. Lamar Jackson a couple of weeks ago in Buffalo, his last 2 throws of the game essentially that mattered, both should have resulted in scores.
Yeah,
Josh Allen can't say that from Sunday. I don't think it's fair to just say, well, Mahomes is that good. Because you're right, Lamar doesn't get that. And guess what? Jalen Hurts is going to get that in a couple Sundays if it plays out that way. I think we need to start looking at this a little differently. Josh Allen isn't the MVP of this season, let alone like a top 2 quarterback in the league. Like, he's not. And everything has to get looked at. Everything has to come into play here. Jim Kelly went to 4 straight Super Bowls, man. I know what the story of that era was, but that's crazy. That's insane. That's a team that knew who they were up until a specific moment. But at least they got there. And you can tell, and listen, the Mahomes factor is huge.
Yeah.
He's got a Hall of Fame tight end. He's got a brilliant head coach. That defense is disgusting. I get it. Don't tell me with 3.5 minutes on the clock, if that's the best quarterback in football, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. And don't not give the ball to James Cook on top of it.
Yeah, that was tough.
It's not a him problem. That's a whole nother discussion. I just don't like the pass that he got, and it bothered me. And it led to my tweet yesterday.
Yeah.
We need to be even with this stuff.
Yeah. I agree with
we're
that.
We're not with Josh Allen, and it pisses me off a little bit.
I agree with that. Hold on, Sid. We're going to try to reconnect your phone line because it's getting a little wonky there. So we're going to call you back. Hold on. The boys are going to grab you here. But again, I agree with what is being said here in the regards of Allen doesn't get the same level of criticism. And I do think that part of that is if I was a Bills fan, I'd be the same way. It's kind of like the Raptors, where sometimes you're afraid to criticize your guy, especially in markets where you feel like, God, the worst thing ever would be to lose him. And like, man, you've seen like the JP Lossmans of the world. You've never won you don't win Super Bowls. It is what it is. I think Allen is amazing. I do think that he is the third best quarterback in all of football, which is like, is that a slight? No, that's amazing if you got the third best QB. But the thing for me is that they've got to be able to capitalize every single other place in order to shore up those things like, hey, if Josh Allen does look nervous at the very beginning of a football game, who are going to be the people that settle him down? Hey, if Josh Allen is going to need to make plays down the field, can you have someone that's more reliable than a missed first-round pick? And so to me, the real conversation the Bills need to be having, and the one that has to stop being kind of self-satisfactory and patting themselves on the back is like, well, Sean McDermott's a good coach, and we do this whole thing every year. Like, he's built a culture, he's built a thing. At some point, I want to see something different around Josh Allen. Like, it's the same thing that we've said about the Leafs. Like, I think they've gotten 2 breaks at it because this is now their third head coach. But it was supposedly the moment where it was Sheldon Keefe was, hey, let's get fresh eyes on this thing. Let's see if other players can get maximized in different ways. And at this point, I just don't know why they're clinging to this general manager. I don't know why they're clinging to this head coach. And another year of this, if it ends up blown, is, I think, going to look like a bit of a missed opportunity here. So that's where I'm at. Hey, Sid, we got you back?
Sorry, brother. You got me? I'm good?
Yeah, we got you. All right, let's move on to the next thing. So, you got like some ornery tweets going on lately, eh? Like you're taking shots. I love it. I love it.
Ornery, ultra ornery.
Well, the thing is too, is like, I find that a lot of people like with social media is boring to me when it's purely just like the safest groupthink stuff ever. Like, that's why I checked out on the Rantanen trade stuff immediately, where I was like, oh, cool. Everybody in hockey has the exact same opinion that the team that's won a Stanley Cup and has Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and has Joe Sakic running things is just a bunch of idiots that are bumbling around and have no thought on this. Oh, they just found out Rantanen was willing to take a big haircut. Like, okay, yeah, no, that's the reality of the situation. Fine, we're doing it that way. But I vehemently disagree with you about your Auston Matthews take. It looked worse for me because Matthews got like completely ghosted the following night against a raucous crowd. I think only had a shot. Got completely shut down in Toronto's second arena, if not their primary arena. But you don't like that the team talked about the fans, and I want to dig in on this. Like, why? Why do you have an issue with it?
I think they're off limits.
Why?
I think they're off limits because they have not gotten their money's worth. That's why they're off limits. By the way, quickly to the Rantanen trade.
Yeah.
The one part of Twitter I did love was the Chicago Blackhawks don't know how to work the cap properly.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of that.
Yeah,
big fan.
I think it actually should that's a fair question to ask after this. Like the criticisms that went their way, I was like, yeah, that's fine. I don't think they know what they're doing.
Are they passing around edibles during board meetings over there?
Yeah.
Holy cow!
It was like.
Sorry, back to the league.
I think they just thought, let's make the league more fun, guys. that's the only way that could be rationalized, what they did.
We're the only way this trade can happen?
Yeah.
Guys, at least a fourth.
Yeah.
At least a fourth round.
Yeah. They're like, okay, sure, guys, get out of here. Thanks, Chicago. And they're like, we did it. Like, I just don't understand. I could picture them, too, like scrolling social media, kind of like Kendall Roy, where he's like sitting in the back of bad tweet, where it's all the people hating him. Like, look how much the internet hates me. That's basically Kyle Davidson whenever he does anything. But anyway, yeah, back to the...
Kyle Davidson as Kendall Roy is one of my favorite Bunkis.
Yeah, that's it. It's a bad tweet. And then him pretending like he doesn't care, but he really cares deeply about the way that the people see him. Yeah, that's what I thought of in that moment. But yeah, so they're not getting their money's worth. Fair, okay?
But they're not getting their money's worth. And now listen,
have you seen the prices? I don't know how you do get your money's worth. Like that worth it. It's like they got to have like fireworks inside, like giveaways. I don't know how they could possibly justify that. Like it's $100 for a beer.
But also the notion, like the narrative in this town that it's all like the richest people and no family folk or no like guys working regular jobs in that lower bowl is inaccurate. I don't think it's totally accurate. I think there are fans who pay a lot of money just to be a part of it.
Yep.
And when you have a fight on a Wednesday night in Toronto, well, 80% of the fan base is checked out on the regular season already. And I get it. But that's just the way it's gone on around here. When you have a fight a minute something into a hockey game, when people are still at concessions waiting for that $100 beer, I don't know what you want with this. Now, Matthews is sticking up for his guy, and I understand that. That fight was insane, and I have nothing but respect for Ryan Reeves. But the fact that that building didn't react in any way tells you maybe also something about what they think of fighting in general.
No.
And what they think, then why did they react that way?
I think it has more to do with what you said about like the Wednesday night thing. Like, it's, man, you see every hockey, like you go to a junior hockey game, you see fights, it's like the crowd gets out of their seats. It's like, I'm on the Don Cherry train with this where it's like or I think it's the Brian Burke. I can't remember who has that one, but it's like, there's a few things in a hockey game that get you out of your seat, and one of them's a fight, and I'm fully there with it. Like I think there's definitely a vocal minority of people that think fighting is like the worst thing to ever happen in the history of sports. But I think the vast majority of people like that go to a hockey game, they see a fight, they're like, yeah, they're pretty stoked on that.
But the argument for the fight has been like over the last 15 years, it energizes the bench, and it gets the crowd going. Maybe Toronto's unique. Didn't get the crowd going. And God bless them, they had a good first period. And Nylander got his 3 breakaways. And however that played out, they lost 5-1. So someone has to explain to me how the arithmetic on that works for a fight energizing the bench and the arena. Like, I'm not saying Ryan Reeves shouldn't. That's what Ryan Reeves does. He has to do. That's why he's here. And I like that Olivier helped him out. And that's what it felt like it was. It was very bizarre in a lot of ways.
No, it was. It was another fighter giving the nod to a guy and saying, like, hey, I'll give you one because I know you would give me that too. Like, that was the code.
But if those two things don't happen after a fight in a hockey arena at that level, what is the purpose of it happening?
No, but this is what I would say. This is the counter, though. Is like this is the thing, Sid. That arena's dead quiet all the time. Like, it's not just because of this fight thing. Like that, I think is the
reason it's dead quiet.
No, but
the reason it's dead quiet. There's no scrums, JD.
No, but
there's no hits.
No,
there's no power play goals.
Partially,
that's why the building is that quiet.
No, partially. The building has a bad atmosphere, Sid. Like, I know you know this in terms of like going to other arenas. Like, you go to any other Canadian arena and it is nothing like Toronto's. Like, it's just a fact. Like, you go to a game in the Bell Center and it's like you feel like the weight of history in the building. You go to a game in Vancouver and it's like the people are locked in. That's the closest one that I've been to that is like Toronto, and it's nothing close to Toronto. You go to games. I've been to every single arena in Canada outside of Winnipeg. That's the only place I haven't seen a game. I've been to many Toronto games. That lower bowl is like nothing that you will ever see. It is sanitized. It is corporate. It is quiet. It is dead. You try to get a Go Leafs Go chant going and you feel like an absolute idiot. And it's not a Toronto issue because I go to Blue Jays games as well. And you know what happens at Blue Jays games? People get rowdy and they get loud and they're in the 100s, and it's like a far more diverse crowd in terms of like, I think, income and just
hold on, JD. Hold on a second. I see the wave in a 4-3 baseball
but
game.
that's
You're
what I'm
telling me
saying.
Everyone's always engaged at Rogers Center?
Yeah,
Seriously?
No, I'm not saying engaged necessarily in like the play that they're like sitting there like studiously going over the baseball. They're not like Geddy Lee taking score of the game, but I'm saying they're into it. They're loud. They cheer. Like, the wave is a way for, it's not my way, but it's a way for people to participate in rooting on their team. And like that arena stinks for fandom. It just does.
I know I'm on an island on this.
Yeah, you
and
are.
I know.
Go to
and
Raptors game, totally different. Raptors game is raucous, baby. Loud, energy.
Raptors games are great.
Yeah.
But this Leaf fan base, to get excited about regular season hockey games after the last 9 years, you are really stretching, man.
But why would a Blue Jays fan base get excited? They've had nothing.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm just saying a fight's not going to do it.
Yeah.
A fight's not going to do it. A scrum will do it. Some level of aggression that isn't just let's fight 95 or 65 seconds into the game will get that crowd into it. We've seen that a bunch over time. It doesn't happen much anymore because that's the way they built the team. But that crowd will react to certain things, just not that. And if Auston Matthews doesn't understand that, I don't know what to tell him. Listen, man, that Gilmore team in the 90s, and I don't want to be old guy going back in time, they played a certain way. And Maple Leaf Gardens reacted every time there was something worth getting up for. This team has sanitized the product so badly with strictly skill, and that skill's not even there. No one's doing anything in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that's much listen, Scotiabank Arena is not Montreal on a Saturday night. I understand that. But to completely dismiss their potential as a crowd is letting that team and executive group off the damn hook.
I agree with that.
Sorry.
I agree with that. But here's the thing. I don't want to conflate two different things because these are separate issues where I'm saying I think that for the fans to not have been loud after that fight is explainable. And like you mentioned, that there are times where I want the players to take more onus on themselves than start to be looking into the crowd. But I don't think that Matthews is saying that because it's in a vacuum, that it's like this is a one-off situation. I think this is the captain of the team addressing the fact that they have a very quiet arena in comparison to their other league counterparts, that when they go to Ottawa, it's hard for them not to notice that they're getting raucous Go Leaf Go chants in a different barn than when they're in their own. It's an extremely difficult thing to get. And so is like the approach of the moment the right spot? No, not necessarily. But from a standpoint of, is the captain of the team allowed to talk about the fans? I'm saying yes. I think that if we, the media, can talk about the players, if we, the media, can talk about the fans, I roast the fans all the time. I give them credit for certain things, like, I rip certain fan bases. It would be crazy of me to say, like, the other side of it being like, okay, well, the player can't say something about the way that the fans are necessarily treating him. So that's what I'm kind of trying to parse here is like, are you saying he can never do it? Like they're totally off limits every single time, or that they were just off limits after a loss?
I'm saying you got to pick your spot.
Yeah, okay.
I'm saying you got to pick your spot.
That's different.
And I'm saying, and listen, I by the end of the Tavares captaincy tenure, I was as annoyed as anyone at how sanitary that was.
Yeah.
Like I get it. So in a lot of in certain ways I can't rip Matthews if I felt that way. I get it. But there was a visual on Twitter the other day of Matthew Barzal, the Islanders. You know the shot I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The cameras, for people who didn't notice or see this clip, he was looking around their arena, and it's pretty, lip reading is a dangerous thing. But it was fairly obvious he was turning to his teammate next to him on the bench saying, there's nobody here. It's pathetic.
Mm-hmm.
Support is not the same in every city.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. If that building down at Bay Street is full, regardless of what happens, I want to give him some grace.
Fair point.
I'll give him some grace. And I don't think this group right now needs to be looking at that. Again, Matthew said it once he moved on, so I won't stay on it long either. But the priority of how the team plays has to change a little bit if they want that crowd really into it. Because I've seen it in the playoffs at times. I might tweet this out soon because I remember a time where Mitch Marner ended a playoff game against the Caps with like 3 straight block shots, and the place went nuts.
Yeah.
The place went. Remember back then? Remember the good old days, JD?
Yeah.
Back then, it was a different time. I understand that the playoffs were new again.
Everybody liked them.
Everyone liked them.
Yeah.
That place can get as loud as any place in the league, but you cannot keep feeding them this sterile stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I have a lot of respect for Ryan Reeves, but I draw a hard line on a building that is full, regardless of what you do, regardless of how you play, regardless of who you beat in the postseason or who you don't beat in the postseason. And I that is a real sore spot for me, considering how entitled this organization seems to be. I'm going to draw the line somewhere, and for me, that was it. I understand people don't agree. I get it. But that's where I draw the line.
So there's two things, though, to this for me, like in what you're touching on. One is I don't think anyone questions the undying support of like Leafs Nation as a whole, right? There's a reason why that sucker's full every single night. I think there's a frustration from fan standpoint that it doesn't end up being more advantageous to the group. And I view it as a very chicken and egg thing as well. Like, I don't think it's like a very binary, like the fans are owed to just root these guys on and be loud every single night when they're giving you some of the product that you're talking about, right? Like, that's why I'm pro booing. Like, I like booing. I like when fans hold teams accountable when they play poorly. Like, I say fan however you want to fan. I don't think you have to boo, but I think if you feel so compelled, you boo your little heart out. You know what I'm saying? Is that the fan base feels like, man, we could be getting more and have a real home ice advantage if it was a crowd that was reflective of more of what this fan base is actually like. And this has been a growing problem for quite some time. And so I would say if I was Auston Matthews, if you're going to go out there and put it out as, hey, it's too quiet in here, then kind of put your money where your mouth is and go see if you can try to help be part of the solution in terms of getting it better in there. And I mean that with your play on the ice, and also with being able to have the ear of every single suit within the organization is going to take a meeting with Auston Matthews and have him be able to discuss this. So it's like, you want to be a captain? This is a problem to you? Fine, for sure, do it. The part that I really don't like that you touched on with this, and that I do think is systemic, and that I'm sorry to overreact to it to a certain degree, is that this group, one of their biggest things has been a big time like like them versus us mentality, and they will apply that. To anyone. And so it's kind of an innocuous, hey, it's a little quiet after a fight situation. But instead of looking internally and saying, hey, we just lost this hockey game, you know, like we got beat by a better opponent. By a worse opponent. And yes, they outplayed them. But the thought process isn't like just immediate, like full accountability. It's again a situation where it's like a leadership core member mentioned someone else being a problem that is outside of their control. And that kind of stuff is where I go, wish this wasn't the thing, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's too many examples of that where it's like, oh, it's the media making the big deal. Oh, it's the fans that aren't loud enough. Oh, it's the other team that played us. Oh, it's the bounces we didn't get. Oh, it was the officiate. It's like, yeah, at some point, I'd like to see it. I've talked about this ad nauseum. Again, it's like the accountability culture. That, to me, there's a little bit of that there. So I simultaneously like that he said something about a real issue to me about the arena, but also that it's like, yeah, sometimes the group messenger, the cumulative, I would say, fan trauma people have had when it comes to those guys in that regard, like that matters there too.
It does. But listen, sometimes that us against the world thing works. Like, I think some of that's going on with the Eagles right now.
Yeah, but that works for like a playoff run where you're like, nobody believed in us and you're kind of lying, but then you're like still celebrating your fan. But I actually heard a take on this the other day that was so good. I loved it to death. It was like, I think it was Connor Orr of SI. He was like, the whole nobody believes in us thing to like the fans of the media is like insulting to all the people that buy all the tickets and like support you undyingly. Like, do it for them. Don't do it for like the haters. Do it for all the people that are like, you're our everything. We believe in you. I'm like, well, yeah, why doesn't that get me?
But if it brings you strength, like some type of rebel force.
Sure, but I'm just saying it's always that way where it's like our own fans were against us. Like Team Canada did too. It's like, yeah, okay, there's some people that like are mad that you're losing, but there's a far greater group of people that are like, go team, even though the Leafs have not won since 67. You guys have been a horrifically disappointing core. And then they're like, we believe in you. And then the players are like, nobody believed. It's just like, God, I'd like for it to be a balance. It's always nobody believes in us. It's never for the people that believe in us. That's all. I just thought it was an astute point. I liked it.
We do live in a world where the criticism gets to the point where Patrick Mahomes with a straight face could tweet out a simple T emoji.
Yeah.
Like that's wild. Yeah. That is quite a place to be. Yeah. But again, you ask any Leaf fan in the city.
Yeah.
If the team used criticism from you as fuel and got to a cup final, would the fan care?
No. I saw. Yeah.
I don't think they would.
No.
That's not happening though.
Yeah.
That's not happening. It's still a team with severe depth issues, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been doubting you. Like, we've been publicly doubting you for a long time. Use it. Like, use it. Do it.
Use it.
Everybody,
use it,
hey, yes. I'd like to send this to the Maple Leafs. Nobody believes in you. Nobody believes in you. You're actually the nobody believes in us team. Prove people wrong. Like, you have that opportunity to be the first nobody believed in us team, and it's true.
Yes. So that's kind of... But I have to say, in terms of sports talk,
Yeah.
it's a great. Thank you, Auston Matthews.
Yeah.
Thank you, Auston Matthews, for that. And again, I do appreciate he's not Tavaresing this.
Yeah.
I do. I just I get a visceral reaction though when I hear that fan base criticized.
I get it.
do. But I understand your point. By the way, I'll wrap. I feel like I've gone long. Let me wrap it up this way. We are 501 days away, JD, from Canada and England at BMO Field to kick off the 2026 World Cup, or whoever they draw. We're 501 days away.
Wait, the Canada game's going to be in Toronto?
Oh, yeah, we got it. The kickoff game's in Toronto.
I thought that that's
the rest of them were basically in Vancouver, but we got the big one off the front. Yeah.
I got to tell you, so that excites me to no end. But also after seeing all the I follow an account called Soccer Fights on Twitter, and
you told me about this before.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I got to tell you, I have a certain cafe that is right around BMO that I go to before every single either TFC or Argos game that I go to. And I would just like to say to them, please board up the shop and don't let anybody in. Don't just board it up, save it so that we can have something to come back to. But after the way the English fans comported themselves, all the video of English soccer fans, the fact that it's England, Canada for game one, I don't think I'll be there. I just think, maybe you go with me with your security detail, possibly. But chairs getting thrown and bottles. And to me, I'm like, my excitement for the World Cup in this city is tempered by the violence that comes with it. I can't deny that. Seeing the people get trampled at Copa.
No, I'm going to stay positive. Because listen, it's not like BMO's some 80,000 seater. You know what I mean? It's going to be. I've been at games with English fans. It is. They let you know they're there.
Yeah.
They let you know they're there. But I have faith. I'll be positive here.
Yeah.
I have faith in FIFA's security, not the city of Toronto. No.
Yeah, I was going to say,
it's not Copa America security. It's FIFA security.
All right.
I have faith in that. I think you're going to be fine, JP.
Yeah. Okay, good. I was going to say, bring in the guys from Qatar. The dudes.
It's like that. It'll be like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Bring it in where it's you catch eyes with the wrong guy and you're like, oh my God. All right, I'll behave. I want those kind of guys at the game, and in the surrounding area and in the surrounding bars. Anyways, I can't wait for it. Yeah, that is going to be spectacular. I didn't realize though, I missed that entirely that we were getting one of the games. I thought from the very outset.
We kind of got hosed on the rest of the schedule because I think if Canada even are in the round, if they win their group and are in the round of 32, that game's also in Vancouver.
Yeah.
But the first one they were like, you guys can have, and it's the second day of the tournament. It's gonna be wild. I got shivers just thinking.
Are you gonna go?
I will try and find my way in.
Yeah.
I will try and find my way in. Yes.
Hey, do me a favor. Try to find my way in too.
I will try. I will help out the finding of the ways in of as many people as I can.
Yeah. I know you have brothers and people that you're probably going to prioritize.
List?
Yeah. I might not be in that list, but if one of them is too afraid, kind of like me, then I'll suck it up. I'll suck it up.
I'll move you up in the queue.
Yeah, put me on the queue. Put me on the queue. Hey Sid, thanks as always for making time, brother. This is fun.
See you, bro.
See you, dude.